that aren't going to be able to make it. But what we wanted to do with this session is go over some of the details in for the MAAP project and relabeling. So, like I said, good to see everybody. Dean is the I was going to say the oldest member of the volunteer group, but that doesn't sound right at all. Dean is
that would probably be true.
Longest serving. Dean is the longest serving of all the everyone here, and other folks have dabbled with this, including Vivian and Karen and Debbie, and have some new folks that experienced expeditioners like Pete, Mark, David, and James and Frank. So, but looking forward to having you all join us and either continue with the relabeling and the digitization project or start new. And one thing wanted to start with is, what we've developed with this is two things. One is a way to get all of our legacy data into GIS, which is really exciting. But also, just like the expeditions, one of the most important parts of this is it's a community, a digital community. And we all connect with each other pretty much at least once a week over Slack, which is it's a software, it's a messaging software that allows teams that are in remote locations to communicate. And so it's been a really nice way to keep in touch. We started this over COVID and we've continued it, all the way up until today. So with that, one thing with the relabeling and digitization is sometimes there's several different ways you can do relabeling or digitizing. One thing I always encourage you all to do is to not sweat it. If things get, there's a kind of a lot of information that seems you have to go through, is just ask questions, because the Slack channel, what it's designed to do is give a space for you all to draw on the resources, of folks like Dean and Kathy and Beth, who have a lot more experience at this than you all do. And I always check in on the questions as well. But usually, before I can answer them, one of the other MAAP team volunteers has already answered them. So again, we try to do all this a step at a time, and what we begin with is the relabeling. And I think during your all's expeditions, we demonstrated some of the relabeling process. And some of y'all might have even had a chance to do that. But the project, what we've been working on through the years is basically projects beginning in 2002, and now we're all the way up to the 2014 time period with the Southwest Yard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and infer. Did anybody have any questions or comments before we get into the meeting? No? Okay, cool. What we'll do with the meeting is I'm going to go over what the Southwest Yard is, the area that we're going to be working on next, and then go over what the relabeling process is and the relabeling guide and all the different categories, demonstrate with one unit, and then go over Slack. And what I've got is training videos on each one of these that you all can look at. And what I'll do is after the meeting, we'll go through and I'll send you an email with that. So, but I will go ahead and share screens now. So, and what you should, let me get rid of these meeting controls. What you should be able to see is the Montpelier map. Can you all see that? That appears? Yes. Cool. And this is, of course, you all probably recognize this. This is the Google map of Montpelier. Here's where the main house is. This is the main house mansion. And then as you look at this area, the area we're working on right now is what we call the Grove, or the Southwest Yard. And if you look at this image right here, This is a map. This is a 3D image showing the grove area. This was an area in the early 19th century as a grove of locust trees. And then based on excavations that we did, what this also was earlier was a in the 18th century was a if you look at this image right here, the grove is down in this area. You've got this, and the southwest yard is all this location right here. This area in relationship to the main house here, this is all the southwest yard, and it includes the foundations for this outbuilding right here, this landscape wall right here. The rubble, the stone rubble site or the grove site is all down in this area right in here. And for details on this, when you look at this, the map we've got right here, when you start zooming in, this is when you can begin to see all these units that we've excavated through the years. And the area we're looking at right now is, let me see if the boundaries for the map are not coming up. Let's see. Don't see them yet. But this, all this area in here is the southwest yard. And the southwest yard consists of a couple of different areas. That one of the main things we were doing in the southwest yard is we were looking for the tree plantings. This is, you know, some of the work we did in 2018. We were looking for the tree plantings that made up this grove. And you can see in this shot right here, all these root stains in here are where these locust trees are planted. So we opened up all these units looking for that. And what we also began to find in looking in this area was all sorts of other features. We found an 18th century building right here. We found the wall up in this area. And then lower down in here is where we found that area of what we call the Stony Rubble site. So if you look at the map right here and start looking at some of these features, like for example, this, let's see if it is, my internet is being a little pokey today. There it is. This area down in here is all where this is where we found this one circular well feature. This is the feature as we revealed it in 2014. Some of you all, like Dean, might remember this. This is this brick well that we found. And then when we fully revealed this in 2014, here's this brick feature right here. And all this was under all of this. Let me see if I can get, I don't think I brought up. Let's see, southwest yard. I didn't bring up this one image, which is the rubble of the grove. That well was located underneath all this stone rubble. And this stone rubble is just, I mean, this picture right here is looking at this area right in here, where you can see all this rubble that shows up, all these pieces of greenstone right here. That is all of this debris right here. So this is the photo that we took at the end of the season. And then this is the digitized map showing all that rubble in place. And then below that is where we found, when we removed that, that's when we found this well. And underneath this stone rubble, we think was deposited sometime in the 18 teens when the house was being renovated. And below that, we found an 18th century midden. It was just incredibly rich and related to the kitchen, the south kitchen right over here. So some of the other features that we found are, and did you all have a chance to look at the report on the southwest yard? You all did? Okay,
Not
SED.
yet, sorry.
What's that, Debbie?
I said not yet. Sorry.
Okay. I will, I'm gonna
Haven't
make
either.
that.
This is the one that Terry, this is the one you included that Terry wrote. Is that, am I right, Matt?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to take a look at it either, but I will.
Okay, yeah, that one, if you look at the executive summary, that it's like a 4-page executive summary that gives all the pertinent details, and it goes into all of the features I'm talking about right here. So for example, the this 18th century stone wall right here, this feature right here is this one that, you know, is this wall that divides the landscape in the 18th century. And then here's a close-up shot taken in 2014. This is unit 1994, where the bend is in the wall. So again, what you all are going to be doing is when you start going through all these unit folders, you're going to start, you know, you're going to be like in MT 1994, you're going to start with layer O, A, B, C, D, and then finally get down to this feature that is this landscape wall. So it's like we've talked about before, doing the digitization project is like, you know, you're revisiting these excavations, and it's like you're excavating the sites all over again. So there's, you know, the Southwest Yard had so many features in it. Another one, that 18th century building, you can see right here. Here's the shot. Here's the well house right here. That brick wall is right in here. So this is where that 18th century building is, and that was on the other side of this landscape wall. And then I'm going to close some of these windows because this gets crazy. But that 18th century building, here's another shot. Here's Scott Oliver right beside the landscape wall that's right in here. There's Scott, another student right there. You can see the wall, this building, the wall for the building right there. So again, all these units right here are in the Southwest Yard. And as you all start, you know, relabeling these, you're going to be discovering all the records for all of these. And occasionally there's, you know, cool artifacts that were found, and those are photographed in situ. So it's a chance to really revisit some of these excavations. So the other part of the Southwest Yard that I really am fascinated with is we found a water line that runs from the South Yard, from a spring, probably over by the garden. There was a wooden pipe that drew water from a spring through the South Yard into a basin. And this basin is this feature right here. And let's see, yeah, here's a picture of Erica excavating this basin. And so the larger basin feature is right here. And then in the middle of this basin is this basin feature is this well-defined feature that Erica's excavating right here. So this little basin right here is in the middle of this bigger basin. And that what Erica is probably excavating, we think that's a clarifying pit for having all the mud settle into. And then that would be cleaned out to keep this larger pit clean. But then what you see is this brick feature right here, this brick feature leading away towards the west, towards the mountains, away from the South Yard. That feature is this one right here, this brick feature that leads in this direction. And if you click on this feature right here, what you can see is this is, and again, this is in 2014 before we reconstructed the South Yard. Here's the smokehouses, here's the duplex, the basin's right here. Here's this brick feature leading away from the South Yard. And then here's a detail of what this brick feature looked like. It was these compass bricks. You can see there are these wedge-shaped bricks that relate to the construction of the portico. So we know this feature dates to after 1799. And there's actually a letter that Madison writes in 1802 where he's having a plumber come out to repair the wooden water pipes that were installed through the domestic's yard. And this is that pipe. So we've got the documentary evidence that relates to this this landscape feature, which is really cool. And where the wooden water pipe, it drains into the basin, and then the runoff from the water is taken up with this brick drain that runs through here and then dumps into this stone rubble area right here. So it's all, it's watering this grove of locust trees, and all these features, these yellow features right here, these guys, these are all these planting holes that we excavated back. We did intensive excavations on these in 2018 and recovered all the root systems, and then we planted those trees back, except we did not plant trees back in this area, even though we had several trees that we found, because you've got all these incredible 18th century deposits here. This is where all this trash deposit is, below all this stone rubble. And so in the units you all are going to be looking at, there's a number of these that go through the stone rubble into the 18th century midden. And again, you'll see all the artifacts that were found as you excavate these. So some fun stuff. So that's the background on the southwest yard. And again, I'll share with you all Terry's report on that back in 2014 that gives a summary of that. And I think Terry's working on the southwest yard report right now for the 2017, 18, and 19 season. So he's doing that kind of on his own time when he's down, doesn't have other things to do at Wake Forest, which is getting harder and harder for him to work on. So, but hopefully he'll finish that soon. So this is the project area. If you look at our map right here, this shows all the different units that are part of the southwest yard. So the area that's in green right here, these are all the units that are part of the southwest yard, and they include these guys in here. All these units in here are also part of the southwest yard. And you can see a history of what we've done so far. Everything in red we've digitized, and I need to change this. No, actually, this is not. This area has not been digitized. The grove or the pine alley and the north extension of the fence, we have yet to digitize that. We'll probably do that after the southwest yard. But all these areas, the portico, the bunker, the front yard, the southern section of the fence, and then most recently, the team has been working on this area of the southeast corner that was just finished up. This was a site of excavations from 2002 and 2004 that just got finished. So what we're on next is this area called, the southwest yard. And this is this report right here that is, that I'll send you all the link to, that Terry wrote in 2016. So one thing that you all are going to be using is, and probably the place to start. And first, does anybody have any questions about the southwest yard? Cool. I think Dean, who else excavated in the southwest yard? Did Karen, did you work there? I know Debbie, you did.
No.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so that way, and Vivian, of course, you did as well. So, but yeah, so but for getting into the relabeling, there's a guide I'm going to share with you all, and I will put this in the I'm going to put this into the chat. Let me see if I can do that. Chat. This is, I just put this into the chat. This is the guide for the that I just put into the chat for relabeling. And for unit record relabeling, basically this document has two things. One, it has a link to the Southwest Yard Google Drive. And what I'm going to need to do is after this call, I'll get you all signed into the Google Drive and make sure you all have access to it. But the Google Drive is where we keep everything. So if you go to the Southwest Yard Google Drive, what you click on this link, what you'll see is all these units. And this is probably one of the biggest projects we have yet to tackle. There are so many units in the Southwest Yard. So it keeps going. And when you think it's going to stop, nope, it keeps going. And there, finally, we're at the bottom. And what I do in this folder is we've got all the units, and also we've got overall shots that you can go through. We've got, various tree shots of the end of the season, but each one of these folders is all the records for individual units. So when you go to MT 1975, this unit right here, what you see is, when you click on this, is there is a whole bunch of unit records. This is the unit summary form. And then this describes, all the strata that were excavated. And then the next one is a profile form. This is a rather unattractive profile form. And then you get into the unit records. So like MT 1975, unit 0, or stratum 0. Here's stratum A. Here's stratum B, C. These are all the stratum cards that have all the information about the soil colors, what samples were taken, plots of artifacts. So it's a good idea when you start going through these units, is just to see what records are there. And this is a rather simple unit, goes through unit F. Oh, and then there's unit Z, which is I think this was bulk removal. It's the bulk is labeled right there. And then after this is where you get into the more interesting things, like the stratum. This is opening for stratum A. Here's the opening for stratum B, C, D, and so forth. And when you get down to the bottom here, here's this profile right here, this wall profile, north wall profile. This corresponds more than likely to the north wall profile right here. So what we need to do is we need to label all these. So for example, if we go to the Northwest Yard and look at one of these units that's already done, what we'll see is you've got all these different unit records that are labeled. And for example, the unit summary, this is MT 1614. It's labeled with this label right here. This is the unit number, and this is what kind of record it is. This is the summary record of the unit. And so that's why it's _A summary. And that relabeling guide has all these labels there. And there's 2 pages to this summary, so that you get a number 2 there. Here's the Harris matrix. That's a specific one. It's labeled with the stratum matrix. This one had a closing photo for the unit. And then you get into what most of the records are these your profile walls. This is MT 1614. The profile north wall, and D is for drawing. Here's profile wall for this is for the west wall. And then, and that's odd that that's the west wall. The north profile wall. Huh. And that's the west profile wall. Usually it's the same wall that's photographed with the drawing. But anyways, here's unit 0 sometimes doesn't have, or O for organic doesn't have, it's actually 0 but it's organic for layer 0. It doesn't have a opening photo, but all the rest of these have, every single stratum should have a opening photo, which is 1614A PH for photo, and then a card, 1614A card. So all these unit sheets are labeled with CA for card, because a long time ago in another universe, we used to use stratum cards instead of stratum sheets. And for those of you all who've been around, you've seen this. We switched over to stratum sheets in 2006. So, but we kept with the CA label. So, and where you find all of these labels is in this guide right here. And probably the most useful part of this guide is this examples, naming convention table examples. And here you can see, you know, the summary sheet and then how it's labeled for the unit. Here's the Harris matrix, how that's labeled, stratum sheet, stratum photo for opening, you know, the MT number, the strata right there, and then CA for card. And basically there's a guide you can access in the and this is what I'd suggest that you all do, is if you go into or actually I'm not going to do it this way because this can be very confusing. If you go to the top of the unit labeling record naming guide and you go to the Southwest Yard and you click on that, this takes you to the home folder that has all these folders in it. And at the very bottom, you have to scroll past all these units. You get to the very bottom, and what you'll see in addition to the unit relabeling guide is you'll also see a guide to recording archaeological deposits and a guide to field methods. And this guide to field methods is one to definitely look through, because this has all of the different record types, you know, plan view drawings, the different stratigraphy sheet records that we have, what archaeological samples are. And as you go through this, you know, this has basically describes what all these forms are that we use. And it's quite involved, but I think, you know, once you start looking at the unit records and then go back and look at some of these guides, it'll help you understand what these records are. So anybody have any questions about this or any insights? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a unit and relabel some of the records with you all, so you all can see that process. Anybody feel overwhelmed yet?
So, well, I just have a quick question, Matt. So, last time we had sort of a session, there was we were looking at a different area, right? It was the northwest yard. So we should go into this folder and look at the southwest yard guide. I have an old one, but I should look at this newer one because there could be some changes and some updates to that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Thanks,
Okay.
Karen. Yeah, that's really important, is to what I try to do is in each of the project folders, like for example, this one, the Southwest Yard, is I put the latest, that the field guide that relates to the time period that you're working on. In this case, closest one I found it with a quick glance this morning was the field guide for 2013. If I find one for 2014, I'll throw it in there instead. But this one basically has everything you need. This one's the field guide that is about all of the processes, like how to do a profile, how to do a plan view, how to take a photo. The guide to recording archaeological deposits. This one is all about basically filling out the unit stratum form. And so all these different, this is really going to be important when you do the digitizing. This is when this will come in handy, is when you transcribe all those records. But at the bottom, you've got, you know, there's excavating features. Oh, here's this gets into some of these other forms, like the unit summary form and the unit matrix form. And then this describes them all. And then here's the example field document. So here's a stratum form. Here is a feature summary sheet. Here's a unit summary form. Here's the that's part of the unit summary form. And then here's the unit stratigraphic matrix. And here's some continuation sheets. So if we go to one of the first units here, so we'll go to MT 1975. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this one. And one of the things that we do when you start relabeling these is you're going to want to, before you relabel this, what you're going to want to do is change the name of the folder to put your initials in. And you put a dash and you put IP for in progress. And then I'm going to put MBR. And then that way, if Karen, I start doing this and 5 minutes later, you go to the southwest yard and you see this, I'm relabeling this unit, and you won't go into it and start relabeling it too. And then we get really confused. And in case you all are worried that you won't have enough units to relabel, remember, there's like 1,000 units in this area. So no shortage here. But the other thing that you'll want to do is you'll want to check in a Google sheet that has all of the strata. And so this Google sheet is called the Southwest Yard. And that's right here. You click on this, and this Google sheet right here, I am working on, let's see, what unit am I working on? I was going to be working on unit
1975.
1975. Yep. So I'm going to find 1975, and here are all the strata right here. And it looks like, oops, that one is labeled with an O. It should be, we've been labeling all this stuff with a 0. So I'll go back to that, because that needs to be, I'm going to put my initials in here, MBR, and I'm going to put under notes change to 0, because it should be 0 and not O, because 0, when you alphabetize this, 0 will go all the way to the top above MT 1975 B. And in this, it looks like there's 1975A that's missing as well. So we'll get into this. Let's go to the folder right now, though. And what we'll do is we'll just start relabeling these. So we're going to bring this one up. This is unit summary form. And what I usually do is when I'm relabeling, or I'm instructing you all on relabeling, because I haven't done a lot of relabeling myself. You all are the masters at that. When I do relabeling, what I'll do is I'll print out the unit summary form, and this time I printed it on my iPad, but you can print it on paper. And it's nice just to have this beside you, because I can't remember what everything is called, and you should refer to this. So this unit summary form, to relabel this file, what we're going to do, this is the file name that was given to this by the scanner. Basically, you click on this, and then it says rename. So you click on the upper left-hand corner, click rename. This is going to be MT, because it's the unit 1975. And if you look at the unit summary, it's you put a dot, and then an underscore, and then A, and then summary. And then you always want to leave this extension as it is. Don't ever change that. And so what's nice is now that you've relabeled this, it only highlights what you've relabeled, and it leaves that extension alone. So that's relabeled. And then we can go to the next one. This is the north wall profile. So again, you refer to the guide. This is MT 1975. And for unit wall profile, profile drawing, we do a dot, an underscore, and then a P, and this is the north wall. So you put N and D. So this is profile north, and then D for drawing. And then we'll go to this, the next one, which is this stratum card, which is 1975 0. And so we're going to relabel this, but we want to check and make sure this is actually in this Google sheet. And in this case, it's labeled as O, but it needs to be changed to 0. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a note to myself that later on I need to go into the database and change this from a zero, an O to a 0. And in relabeling this, what we're going to do is we're going to call this MT 1975. And then this is dot 0 and then dot CA for stratum card. And we'll skip to the next one. This is stratum A, and we go over here. What you'll see is 1975 A is not here. So I'm going to insert one, insert row above, because it's missing MT 1975 dot A MBR for my initials added. Most of the time, all your stratum are going to be here. I just picked ones that happen to have some mistakes. So MT 1975 dot A dot CA and hit OK. And then you just start, clicking down the line here. This one is stratum B. So MT 1975 dot B dot CA and so on and so forth. Then what you'll see as you start relabeling these is these start accumulating at the bottom and are in the order of excavation. And what we'll do in the end is we'll make a PDF file of all these, and it'll have all the unit excavation records in order. But you'll see there's no photos for these. So if you go up here and you look at this one, this is the opening for A. So this is MT 1975 dot A and then dot just PH for a photo. And then we'll go to this next one, which is B, MT 1975 dot B dot PH. And this next one is layer C, surprise, surprise, MT 1975 dot C dot PH. And so there's a lot of repetition in this. But again, what's fun is as you start, labeling these, they start falling into line, and then you get all the unit excavation records in order. And once you're done with your with these, when you're done with the folder, and I'm not done with this yet, but what you'll do is if I finish this folder, what I would do is I would drag it and put it into complete, or if I had a question, I'd drag it and put it into problems. And if you ever run into a unit that's missing photos, there's some photo that's confusing, don't hesitate just to put it into problems rather than and go on to the next unit. And so sometimes we'll have a backlog of problems that is like 30 units long. And what you'll want to do is go into Slack and just type in what some of your questions are. And so before talking about Slack, anybody have any questions about this? And I'll preface the questions is basically just start on this process, and I think as you get into it, you'll find that it'll get easier. What you can do is you can explore the what I'll do is I'm going to put into the unit relabeling is explore some units that have already been labeled, and I'll put in the Northwest Yard. So let me go to I'm going to go to the Northwest Yard here and put this guy in. Copy link. I should have done this before. I just thought of this. So don't pay attention to this. I don't know how many of you all are Google aficionados, but it's so this is to explore some of the units that have already been labeled. Just go into, and then I need to, let me see, I need to copy link. Let me change this to sorry about this, folks. Ah, I gave the wrong link. Apply. Now when we go to this one, here's all these units that have been relabeled. Is you can go in here and just explore around and see, what some of these units are and how they got relabeled and what it looks like. And what you'll notice in the folder is that all of the unit summaries and the profiles and features all have this dot and an underscore. That puts these to the top of the folder because those are the unit summaries that we want to have, as the first pages of the unit summary. And then finally, you'll get down into all the stratum that were excavated, like stratum A. Here's the card. Here's the opening photo for stratum A right there. Here's stratum B card and the stratum B photo for the opening for B, and so forth and so on. But, go ahead and explore some of these units. And from navigating in Google Drive, you'll and what I'll do is I'll do an instruction video for how to navigate in Google Drive. I think that might be one of the more confusing things to do, because to go from folder to folder, you can either click the back button, which takes you back to the root folder. And if you click on any of these, like for example, MT423, you can see up here, MT423 is part of the complete digitized folder, and you can click on it right there. So, but anywho, but
Matt, I have a question.
yeah.
When you have the titles of the various ones you're looking at there, the reports, when I click to rename it, I can't access it. It doesn't show me a link. Can you go back to how you relabel it the correct way? Because I was watching and I cannot change the titles of my docs.
Okay. When you double click on this, so you see this up here, James,
Yeah.
this one?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
you
got
click-
that part, but
It won't.
when I click on it, it won't let me do it.
All right.
It's
probably because what I need to do is I need to add you all to the Google Drive.
Yeah, because I think right now we don't have permissions to change the
You
documents.
don't have permissions, absolutely. So hopefully all of you all have a Google account, because that makes it so much easier to get into Google Drive. If you don't, James, do you have a Google Drive? Do you Google?
Yep, I'm using it right now.
Oh, sweet. Okay, then you'll be set. So the other thing is, if you ever accidentally delete a file, don't sweat. We have all this backed up on another Google Drive and on the server back at Montpelier. So basically, it would be sad if you deleted everything, but no one's going to do that. But if you and also we can undelete as well as a manager. So it would be you'd have to really try to hurt things there's very few ways you could break this accidentally. So but if you do relabel something in one of these old folders and you're not sure what to do, that's when you go to Slack and write me a note, and I'll show you Slack next. But yeah, you'll basically, the thing to do with this is just start exploring like you're doing, James, and get into it. So
Okay, like I said, right now the titles are locked, and I think most of the content is too.
yeah, what I'll do is after this, I'll log in. It'll probably be later on tonight, because I've got a phone call after this, and then gonna do some exploring in the woods, but I'll do this later tonight. So
If there's images that need to be rotated, is that something we should do, or is that something that's worthy of the problems folder? Or do we just pass those along?
oh yeah, that is something that we have quite a bit of, and it's tricky because a lot of the images that we've got are PDFs, so you need Adobe Acrobat to rotate them. If you do have Adobe Acrobat and you're interested in rotating it, I would love to. I'll do another demo on how to do that and how to upload it again, because you can basically, like for example, this one right here, this is a JPEG. If you rotate this one, what you can do is, let's see, get out of this, is there's something called manage versions, and you can download it and then upload the rotated version. But I'll do another video on that, because this is going from being fed from a fire hose to being fed, you know, by Niagara Falls. So, but we'll do those on an individual basis. But we're not going to worry about rotating stuff right now, Pete. It's just
So it's still, it still goes in the complete file, even if there's rotations yet to be done.
it still
Okay.
goes in the complete file. Absolutely. So, so let's go back to this guy. Let's see. Go back to the southwest yard. And again, so this one right here, I'm going to finish this up right after I finish with you all, and I'm going to scoot this over to the relabeled. If you have one that's a problem, put it into the problems folder. And then that's where the other invite I'm going to send to you all is an invite to Slack. And I think I closed my Slack folder, but I'll send you all, I'm going to send you all invites to Slack. And what Slack is, and I've got a whole nother training video I'll put into the email I'll send you all on Slack. Slack is a way to communicate. So, for example, this is, and there's different channels. There's, when you go in, there's digitize, and then there's relabel. And for digitize, we just finished up the southeast corner. And you'll see in this that there's questions going back, you know, for years in the digitized channel. So you can see that, you know, pretty much every week we're communicating and folks are asking questions about what, you know, some of the questions they had about some of the projects. And the one we're going to be using is relabel. And I'll invite all of you all to this channel right here. But again, I've got another video that talks about Slack and how to use that. But you'll get a link to Slack, and you just click on that, and you don't have to download the software. You can just use the web version of it. But it's very nice for, you know, for organizing the questions. And we've got a channel for digitize versus relabel. And what you all are going to be using right now is relabel, because that's the process we're in right now. And under relabel, you can actually go back and look at some of the questions. And there's actually links, like Kathy asked a question back in June about, I moved MT29 to the problems folder, and it describes it. And she puts a link in to that unit, and you can see how, you know, what question she was asking. And so, but again, these go back, you know, all the way back to 2020. So it's actually like, if you ever, you know, followed one of these Reddit trails about repairing your car or repairing your house, this is the same sort of deal. There's a long history of questions that have been asked. This keeps, you know, going back. So it's a whole history. And you can actually search this for, you know, if I search for profile, yeah, there'd be, you know, north wall profile. You can search it, you know, Control F, and you can, you know, find answers to previous questions. But again, I'll send another training video out for that one as well. So, but so what I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing screens at this point. And what we'll do is I'm going to send you all an email, and that'll go over the next steps, which is, you know, looking at the digitizing or the relabeling manual, reading that, just going through that has basically a list of all the steps for doing the relabeling, and also send you a link for the using and Slack. And then also I've got a shorter guide for relabeling that I'll put in there as well. So, but basically, you know, oh, the other thing I do want to have you all know about is we are working off of an IMLS grant. I go back to share screens here. And one of the things, this is in the relabeling guide, is you'll want to make sure that you remember to log in your volunteer hours. So here's the volunteer hour Google sheet. And what you'll do is, and here's a total of all the hours that have happened. Let's see. Did I save this? No, something happened with this. I'll redo that query. There's Dean has hundreds, if not thousands of hours in this, but you can see at the very bottom, what you do is you put in your name, the date, and the number of hours you did. And this form goes back to January of 2020 when we started this project. So it's really important to put your name in here and then log in the number of hours that you've done. And again, the link to that is in this unit relabeling, renaming guide, this legacy guide. This is kind of your home page for this unit renaming doc is the one you want to look at and really study. And once you know, you go through all this will have everything that you need. So let me stop sharing screens. And
Matt, I have a quick question.
yeah,
What was that sheet? It was in the folder, it was at the bottom that you were looking at, that you said it was an O instead of a 0. What was that? What is that sheet? What do we need to do with that?
that
You know,
one,
like the difference.
that one is the let me share screens again. What that one is that is what is refers to in here as the let's see, where is this? There's sideways. Pick a unit. Yeah, from the Google sheet. I'm going to put this link in here. Somehow this went away. What that sheet is the Southwest Yard stratum list. This is a
Okay.
list of all the stratum from the Southwest Yard. So this is, there's something like, you can imagine with all the units we've got, there's 1,379 units, unique unit stratum that are in the database. And as you go
Okay.
through and relabel, what you're going to want to do is put initials, your initials here. I did a relabeled stratum B, and that was nothing to add there. Stratum A, I added this added line for A, and the relabel notes, it doesn't have to be standardized, just put what happened if there's any changes.
Okay.
But this is an important one because in the end, before we go over to digitizing, we're going to want to have all these initialed,
Filled in.
and so we'll know they're all done. So
Okay.
I'm gonna put the link for this one into.
So for everybody that's been doing this for a while, it's probably a good idea, once you're sort of done with the folder, go back to this sheet and make sure that you've filled in with your initials.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So this has the link to the Google sheet right here.
Okay. Thanks.
Pick a unit. Unit. And I'll put this link in here as well, just to duplicate things. Yeah, so that Google sheet is right there. I don't know how that link got broken there. So, but yeah, thank you, Karen.
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
Cool. Any other questions? And I know this is like saying, all right, I've showed you hour-long video on how to do heart surgery. Any questions? But it'll, again, just start. The nice thing about this is there's no patient that's going to die. We've got duplicate, all this stuff is backed up. And actually what you all are doing in this process is making sure that the patient doesn't die by, relabeling all this and making it, eventually this will be live linked in GIS, which is really important. So
are we covered by malpractice?
That I'm your lawyer for that, so I'll defend you to the hilt. So I'm the lawyer, and I guess I'm the patient as well, because these are I'm the link to all these records. So if anybody's going to be upset about it, I will, and the only thing I'll be upset about is if you decide not to do this. So hang in there. And also, again, you've got a support community right here, and we can, we can do check-ins, and definitely the Slack channel is a place to do that as well. So.
And I will add to that I have asked a lot of really dumb questions on Slack, and everybody is very nice about it.
Debbie, saying that you ask dumb questions on Slack is like saying as a pilot, you did a really stupid roll with the plane up in the sky. It's pretty sophisticated. So that's awesome, Debbie. If you're asking questions on Slack, you're a pro.
As I always told my students, there's no such thing as a dumb question, except for the one you didn't ask.
Exactly.
Okay, let me rephrase that. No, I just wanted to stress, though, that everybody is very nice in responding to the questions, and if they happen to think it's dumb, they don't mention
You don't
that.
say it.
Yeah.
No, there's
There's no emoji for that yet. Wait, do you pop
Yeah,
up?
there's
There's no
emoji for
emoji
that.
for
There
like,
never will be.
what?
So.
Well, give it time.
But really excited to have a new group of people starting to help with this, and folks returning as well, like Karen and Debbie, giving it and Vivian would give it one more try here. So, Mark, did you ever try this before? Okay, yeah, no, because I know James, you're a newbie on this, and so isn't David. So
I'm going to take a real close look at all the things that you are sending us and see how it matches up to my unique personality.
yeah, and one thing that would help me is if you all could email me right after this and send me your Google email. Just even if it's in the email, just say the Google email that you want to use. That's how I'll get the list of folks that we'll be using. So, and I'll get you all signed up for this, and I'll send you all individually the instructions for what to do next. So,
Matt, for those of us that have done this before, are our permissions still valid?
yeah, your
Or-
permissions are still valid.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you won't have to send all of us that information.
No. What I'll do is I'll send an email with the to everybody once I download this and upload it to Google, to the recording. Once I upload it to YouTube, I'll send the recording of this session, and then I'll put in the link to the relabeling guide. And then when you have that, you can look at the relabeling guide and go through and look at some of the folders. But like what happened to you, Jim, when you try to relabel something, you won't be able to relabel it until I get your Google address. And when you emailed me that, I'm going to email you individually a permission to the Google Drive, to IMLS Google Drive, and then also the invite to the Slack channel. And so that'll be the initiation. So just, send me an email and say, hey, here's the email I want to use for Slack and for the Google Drive. But I'll put this in the email as well. So I'll put all this in the email. So
I just sent it.
okay, cool. You're way ahead of the game. So awesome. All right. Well, great seeing you all. Even though I'm on vacation, I've got a whole raft of meetings this afternoon. So I've got another one at 1:10. I gave myself 10 minutes between. So, but I'll let this download and I'll upload it to the YouTube, and I'll see you all in the email. But more importantly, hope to see you all in Slack. So,
Thank you,
Yep.
Matt.
all right. Good.
Thanks,
to see you
Matt.
all.
Matt,
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
have fun.
Okay.
Have a good
Thanks.
vacation.
Don't do anything we wouldn't think of.
I will definitely do that. So send me some ideas, Vivian. See ya.
If you do, remember, you gotta let us know. We can come join you.
All right, sounds good. Bye.
Okay, bye.